let me ask you something. It's the middle of July. The sun is blazing. Everyone around you is posting beach photos and talking about rooftop parties. And somewhere in the back of your mind, quietly, almost guiltily, you're thinking, I can't wait for this to be over. You're already dreaming about gray skies, about the smell of rain on cold pavement, about pulling a blanket around your shoulders with a hot cup of something warm, and just breathing. If that's you, you've probably spent a lot of your life feeling slightly out of step with the world, because we live in a culture that has decided, collectively, that summer is the good season. Summer is happiness, summer is life, and winter is just what you endure until the good stuff comes back. But here's what psychology actually has to say about that, and it's far more interesting than you'd expect. People who genuinely prefer winter aren't broken. They're not antisocial misanthropes hiding from joy. In fact, the research points in a completely different direction. What's really going on inside the winter lover's mind tells us something profound about human personality, sensory processing, and the kind of inner life a person is quietly building for themselves. Let's start with the nervous system, because that's where it actually begins. Psychologists have long studied a concept called sensory processing sensitivity, the degree to which a person's brain picks up on and deeply processes stimulation from their environment. People who score high on this trait, and research by Dr. Elaine Aron suggests this is roughly 15 to 20% of the population, are wired to notice more texture, more noise, more emotional nuance, more everything. And summer, if you really think about it, is a lot. It's bright light and loud crowds and social obligations stacked on top of each other. It's the season that demands you be on. For someone whose nervous system is already running at a higher frequency, summer can feel less like freedom and more like sensory overload wearing flip-flops. Winter, by contrast, offers something genuinely rare in the modern world: permission to slow down. The days are shorter, the light is softer, the world gets quieter. And for certain minds, that's not depressing, that's relief. Now here's where it gets really interesting. Psychologists have found a strong link between preference for winter environments and what's called introversion, but not in the way most people think. Introversion isn't shyness, it's not social anxiety, it's a preference for lower stimulation, because that's where the introverted brain actually functions at its best. The winter lover who curls up with a book, who does their best thinking when the house is quiet and the rain is hitting the window, isn't withdrawing from life. They're moving toward the conditions that make them most alive.
There's even a personality dimension in psychology called openness to experience, one of the big 5 traits. And people who score high on it tend to be drawn to contemplative environments. They're the ones who find something almost spiritual in a gray winter morning, who see beauty in bare trees and fog-covered streets where others see bleakness. And this isn't just poetic. Brain imaging studies have shown that highly open individuals actually process aesthetic and emotional information differently, assigning richer meaning to subtle, understated stimuli. The cold, empty park in February isn't sad to them. It's full of something. And then there's the question of identity. Research on environmental psychology, the study of how spaces affect the human mind, shows us that people form deep psychological attachments to the seasons that mirror their inner world. If you are someone who values depth over surface, quiet over noise, introspection over performance, you will feel more yourself in winter. The season doesn't just match your mood, it matches your self-concept. Summer, with all its exposure and extroversion and relentless brightness, can make certain people feel like they're performing a version of themselves that doesn't quite fit. Winter lets them come home. There's something else worth naming here, and it's a little more philosophical. Many winter lovers describe a phenomenon that's hard to put into words, a kind of clarity that arrives with the cold. When the world strips itself back, when the leaves fall and the noise settles and the days close in early, something inside them opens up. Writers have described it for centuries. Poets have chased it. There's even a Danish concept, hygge, built entirely around the idea that warmth and meaning are found not despite the cold and dark, but because of it. The contrast makes the candle more beautiful. The chill makes the warmth more real. If any of this is resonating with you, I want to offer you something to sit with. The next time someone looks at you sideways for genuinely loving November, or for feeling inexplicably sad when the clocks spring forward and the heat returns, know that your preference isn't a flaw in your wiring, it's a feature. It means you are someone who finds richness in subtlety, someone whose inner life is textured enough that you don't need the world to be loud to feel it. Someone who has learned, maybe without even realizing it, that rest is not the enemy of a meaningful life, it's the foundation of one. Winter lovers tend to be deep feelers, careful thinkers, and people with a quiet but powerful relationship to beauty. And in a world that rewards noise, that is something worth knowing about yourself. So the next time the first cold wind of October catches you off guard and you feel something in your chest to lift, pay attention to that. That's not nostalgia, that's not escapism. That's your mind recognizing the conditions where it gets to be most fully, most honestly itself. I'd love to know, are you a winter person? And if you are, when did you first realize it? Drop it in the comments. And if you want more content that takes your inner world seriously, you know what to do.